Let me ask you something that's going to make you feel uncomfortable. In 5 years, who is actually going to care about the grade you're losing sleep over right now? Not your boss or your friends or the world. And honestly, probably not even you. But right now, it feels like everything, like your entire future, is sitting on one test, one exam, one grade, one semester. And if you don't get the number you need, it's over. I've been there, every single level of it. High school, university, post-secondary, and I want to be honest with you about all of it in a way that most people won't be. So let's talk. Here's the thing that nobody actually sits you down and explains. The education system measures one specific thing: how well you can absorb information, hold it in your head, and reproduce it on a piece of paper under pressure. That's it. That's the whole game. And if you're good at that game, you get A's. You get praise. You get told you're smart. And slowly, quietly, your entire identity starts to wrap itself around that number. And if you're not good at the game, you get C's and D's. You get told to try harder. You start to feel like you're behind, like something is wrong with you. But here's what they never tell you. Being good at memorizing a textbook for 45 minutes has almost nothing to do with what you're actually capable of in the real world. I've seen straight A students hit 22 years old with zero social skills, zero ability to handle failure, and no idea what to do when there's no teacher telling them exactly what to study next. Because they spent their entire school life being excellent at following instructions, and when the instructions disappeared, they froze. And I've seen the kids who scrape by with C's build businesses, lead teams, and figure out life faster than anyone else. Because they already knew what it felt like to fail and keep going. A grade tells you how you performed on one test, on one day, in one specific format. It does not tell you who you are. And the sooner you separate those two things, the better. Now, before you screenshot this and send it to your parents as proof you don't need to study, pump the brakes. Because I'm not here to tell you school doesn't matter. That's not the message. That's the lazy version of this conversation, and you deserve better than that. If you want to be a doctor, you need the grades. Full stop. You cannot hustle your way into a medical program. You cannot skip the organic chemistry exam because you've got a great personality. The grades matter, and working hard for it is non-negotiable. Same goes for engineering, law, pharmacy, dentistry, any field where there's a direct line between your academic performance and your ability to actually do the job. If that's your path, take it seriously. But here's an honest question I want you to sit with. If your goal has nothing to do with the traditional system, if you want to build a business, create content, go into trades, start something of your own, why are you letting a history grade define your self-worth? If you're doing nothing outside of school and failing your exams, yes, that's a problem. That's not you being a rebel. That's you being lazy and using a narrative to justify it. But if you're building something, if you're working on a skill, developing a craft, putting in hours outside of the classroom, a 68 on a biology test is not going to stop you. I promise. The grade only controls your future if you're letting the system control your future. Let me tell you what I actually remember from school. Not the tests or the formulas or the essays I stressed over for weeks. I genuinely cannot even tell you the content of most of the exams I wrote. It's gone. It's evaporated the second I didn't need it anymore. What I remember is the friendships, the random conversations, the feeling of figuring out who I was in a building full of people who were also figuring out who they were. The moments that had nothing to do with the grade. And post-secondary was a whole different kind of pressure. University hit different. The workload was heavier, the stakes felt higher, the deadlines were relentless, and nobody was checking on you the way that teachers did in high school. You were just expected to figure it out. And some people thrive in that environment, and some people completely fall apart. I watched people I knew spiral during finals, not because they weren't smart, but because they had tied every piece of their self-worth to a GPA. And when one bad semester threatened that, the anxiety was real. The pressure was crushing. And the saddest part, a lot of that suffering was for a grade that didn't end up mattering at all in the job they eventually got. But here's the thing that actually stuck with me about school, and I think about this a lot. The only exams I actually remember are the ones that absolutely destroyed us. Not the ones I aced, not the ones I felt good about walking out of, the ones that were genuinely brutal. The ones where you'd walk out of that exam room, look at your friends, and just laugh. Because what else could you possibly do? You just survived something ridiculous together, and the only reasonable response was to laugh about it. Those are the ones that stayed. Those became the stories. Those became the inside jokes that I still use today. And organic chemistry, that was a different level entirely. Organic chemistry was a kind of exam that makes you question every single life decision that led you to that moment. Sitting in that exam room, looking at a question and genuinely not knowing if the answer was on the paper or if I had hallucinated the entire semester. It was humbling in a way that nothing else really has been before or since. I remember getting to the last page of that exam, and I looked at the two questions that were there, and I had no idea what to write. I think if I remember correctly, I genuinely left both of those answers, like those questions, blank, and I just handed in the exam and just walked out. And then when I walked out, I told my friend, and as soon as I saw him, I was like, "Yo, like, what did you write for that last question?" He was like, "I have no idea. I think I just made something up." Same thing with me. I just wrote, "Please, please let me pass the exam. Please just give me a good mark on this one." But here's what's funny. I compare everything hard in my life to that exam now. Tough day at work? Nowhere near as bad as Orgo. Difficult conversation I've been avoiding? Still easier than that exam. Something feels impossible? I felt impossible before. I walked out of organic chemistry and I was still standing. That exam became a benchmark for difficulty for me. And in a weird way, that's more valuable than the grade ever was. So when I tell you the exams don't matter, I don't mean the experience doesn't matter. I mean the number doesn't define you. But going through hard things together, surviving something that felt impossible, and laughing about it on the other side, that stuff stays with you forever. I'm not saying don't try. I'm saying don't sacrifice your mental health at the altar of a number. There's a version of working hard at school that doesn't destroy you, and that's the version worth chasing. I remember for a lot of the exams, I used to have a cutoff time. By like 9, 10 p.m., if I don't understand it or if I didn't even get to it, I would stop at 9 or 10 p.m., go to sleep, wake up in the morning around like 8, 9 a.m., and then start. I never sacrificed my sleep for an exam. No matter how behind I was, I always took care of my sleep. Middle school, high school, university, master's, PhD, every single level of school comes with its own specific flavor of pressure. And what makes it brutal is that the pressure follows you. It doesn't get any easier, it just changes shape. In middle school, you're terrified of looking stupid in front of your classmates. That alone is enough to make fools feel unbearable. In high school, the stakes feel life or death. Every exam feels like it's deciding your entire future. Your parents are watching, your teachers are comparing you to other students, and your friend group somehow turned grades into a competition. In university, you're broke, tired, questioning every decision you've ever made, wondering if you even chose the right program, drowning in assignments and still somehow expected to have a social life and figure out your career at the same time. And then for some of you, masters, post-grad, professional programs, you gave up years of income and comfort to chase a degree at the highest level. The pressure there is a different beast entirely. Because now you're not just competing against your classmates, you're competing against a version of yourself you promised you'd become. And at every single level, the message is the same. Your worth is not in the grade, your worth is in what you do with the education, what you build from it, who you become. The stress is real, I'm not dismissing it, but suffering silently over a test score is never the answer. Here's something I wish someone had said to me earlier. School, at every level, is actually a training ground for two things that matter more than the content of the exam: discipline and resilience. The ability to sit down when you don't want to and do the work anyway, that's discipline. And school gives you 10,000 reps of that whether you realize it or not. Every assignment you complete when you'd rather be doing literally anything else is building that muscle. And every time you fail a test, get a bad grade, have a rough semester, and still come back for the next one, that's resilience. That's the thing that separates people who eventually figure life out from the ones who fold the moment things get uncomfortable. The content of the exam, most of it won't follow you, but the version of you that learned how to push through hard things, meet deadlines, manage stress, and show up consistently, that version follows you everywhere. So don't just go through school, learn something from being in it. And if you're in a master's program or pushing through a professional degree, which I hopefully will be in a couple of months, you already know things about discipline and delayed gratification that most people never learn. That's not nothing. That's one of the most valuable things you can take into whatever comes next. Next time you're sitting at your desk, heart racing, staring at an exam that feels like it's going to end your life, I want you to do this. Ask yourself 3 questions. Will I remember the answer to this question in 5 years? Probably not. Will anyone ask me about this grade in 5 years? Probably not. Will my life actually be over if I get a C? Probably not. So that's why just do your best, prepare, show up, hand it in, and then just let it go. Don't spend the next 3 hours picking it apart with your friends. Don't spend the night replaying every question you weren't sure about. The exam's over. It's done. What you do after the exam, who you're becoming outside of the classroom, that's what actually builds your future. The real test isn't on a desk. It's what you do with your evenings, your weekends, your summers. It's whether you're building skills, whether you're showing up for the people around you, whether you're becoming someone you actually respect. That's the exam that matters, and nobody gives you a grade for it. You just have to live with the results. Go pass your exams, study, do the work, be disciplined enough to show up even when it's hard. But the second you walk out of that exam room, flip a switch. Stop being a student waiting for someone to tell you you're good enough. Start being someone who's building something, someone who's growing, someone who knows that no grade, good or bad, has ever been the full story of who they are. The most important things you'll ever build won't be graded. They'll just be real. Go do the work on both sides of those doors. That was our conversation topic for today. Stay tuned for more. If you enjoyed, like the video and subscribe. We'll chat again soon. Peace.